our main goal is to get coaches to generate $135,000 a year top line, so they can go ahead and pay 1 to 2 teammates. They themselves can take home at least $100,000 of that 135, and on the other side of that, they're only going to work 30 hours a week.
So, Steve, we, first of all, let's just give a shout out to Ty on the podcast setup here. But
Yeah,
I mean, this
we've
is
upgraded.
amazing.
We changed. Don't get too used to it though, because we're going to be back in our normal digs here soon.
We'll try to get you guys some good content. But we're on the back end of a business consultation / an organization planning meeting, right? And I think there was a lot of gold inside of that meeting where we were able to take this very complex individual that has a lot of really profound working knowledge in hormones and peptides.
Super smart.
So smart.
He's like somebody else that I know that is just really smart and sometimes have a difficult time articulating what they want. So
sometimes people have to be blessed with a certain level of focus that excludes other things.
100%.
And so, but with that in mind, I think it's important that we take some time to, help the audience understand that business can be as complex or as simple as people want to make it. And being that our goal is to help a lot of initial coaches that are looking to get to that 135K that we know is so meaningful for people and their quality of life, that I think we can take a lot of complex things and make them really simple. And I love how you did that today. So maybe going into today, I just asked the dumb questions.
Fair.
Right. But I would really love to understand, some of your best practices as we've worked with this particular client today. What are you taking away from that, and how do you see complexity potentially getting in the way of people being able to take these wonderful, helpful things that they do, whether it's a service or product, and translate that to client outcomes?
So just to heading back for a moment, our main goal is to get coaches to generate $135,000 a year top line, so they can go ahead and pay 1 to 2 teammates. They themselves can take home at least $100,000 of that 135, and on the other side of that, they're only going to work 30 hours a week. And it gets really, really easy to just overcomplicate the business because we're so good at what we do. You can sit in a room with me and I can jam on business and numbers and all of these things and make it very hard really quickly, just because it's something that's natural to me. I'm good at it, right? One of my friends, I was going down this road of the day trading route, and he sends me the matrix with all the green numbers falling and everything, right? And it's I just see it and it works. But coaches in their business, so when we think about fitness programming, nutrition programming, lifestyle, wellness, things along those lines, it's just super easy to get overly complicated because you're just good at it and it's easy to you. The reality is most clients need simplification, because the moment you have complex, you have to just spend all of this time talking, educating, getting them to wrap their brain around the options, and that's where you start to lose people. You get more no's, and you just kind of create this complexity that stops you from being able to grow and scale. Right? And
absolutely.
We don't even need growth and scale at $135,000 in a year. That's the thing. We're talking, how do we make $11,000, $12,000 a month? That's a 1 plus a half a person operation, easy, and you're putting in 30 hours a week. But we just make it harder than it has to be.
100%. And I think that for those of you that are listening and you may be kind of in that 0 to 10 client range, if your business guru that you hired and probably overpaid a little bit gave you a checklist of 50 things and no way of how to actually go about doing those, I think that you should probably run for the hills and ask for a refund, my opinion. But I will say that when people are getting going, and I love that there was one of the smartest coaches I've ever had the privilege of meeting and learning from, was a guy named James Fitzgerald. And he said very simply that if you're brand new, you're trying to figure out what to do. You're not worried about why you're doing it. You're not worried about the how. You're not worried about all the if this happens and if that happens. And if you're one of those people that's constantly finding yourself, well, oh my gosh, if this happens, or if this one contingency comes up, I have to change everything, and it really paralyzes people from taking that action. I think focusing on following a template, going and Googling something using AI, which if you haven't listened to that episode that we recorded for you earlier in the season, you definitely need to take some time to go review that, because it is such a profound tool that makes a big difference for people just to get something on the board. And then once you figure out what you're doing and you've worked through it and you've seen that trial and error, it's not working, it is working long enough, then it really does make a big difference to start to understand how some of those things start to work together versus overcomplicating and having to understand every little thing up front. So that would be something that, hearing that professional talk today, there were moments that I was like, huh? And, I have advanced degrees in the topic. And so it's, you can definitely, if you've been coaching for a while and you're on that side of the spectrum and you're listening to our podcast, maybe take some time if you ever see people's eyes glaze over and just check in with them, which is a great debriefing technique to say, what are you taking from that? Or how did that come across? Or just making sure that there's a check for learning in there. So that way they're not left trying to stack confusion on top of confusion.
Yeah, and we're talking today health, wellness, again, nutrition, fitness coaching. So the job out of the gates is, how do we find 25 to 30 people that will pay us $350 to $400 a month to help them solve their problem? And that's just the reality. We all have our own audience. We all have people that are going to be attracted to us. We have people that are going to be repelled from us. And all of those things are good. When we look at the numbers, and again, I saw somewhere 120,000 coaches, 8 billion people in the world. You do the math and go ahead. All right, some people too old, some people too young, some people are already motivated, all these things. Even 25% of 8 billion people is still 2 billion people. With 100-ish, let's say 100,000 coaches, we actually really only need like 3 or 4 million people in the world to be serviced. Now you're getting 30, 40 clients, no problem. It's not it's too crowded situation. It's you're just not talking clearly to the people that you need to, and you don't have a simple enough process to articulate it in a simple way that you can help them.
Yeah.
Everybody in this world will spend $100 a week for you to solve their health problem.
Yeah.
Simple and easy. If they don't have to think about it, they just show up, they do the thing, right? So you were talking about the idea that there's this nuance and this nuance and this nuance. Solve it for 80 to 90% of the people that come in the door. And find those 10 to 20% that you can go jam and just be a nerd on and just have the extra fun going crazy on the programming and fill that need. But your desire to overcomplicate it and feel more important, that's what it is. It's I'm so important, I'm so smart, I have to make it really hard. Okay, cool. If you hate your business right now, or it's too complicated, or it can't grow, literally you built that. It's your fault, right? That's just the thing, and you need to also understand that. For me in my business, it's a situation where I know what I want to do. 5, 6 clients is all I'm interested in. I'm sacrificing the idea of growth and scale. I'm good with that. But know it, because you can't have this really high touch 4 hours a week of delivery per client situation and scale it to be 100K months.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, the thing that we're assuming is that people understand in the background is that everyone has to deal with a set of constraints and things that are performance limitations, right? If you're thinking about running fast, some of the performance limitations, let's say you're running on a track and you're trying to run a mile as fast as you can. If the track is made of rubber, if it's made of, concrete, if it's made of turf, all those things will then change your performance. If it's slick and it's wet, maybe you slip. And so when we think about some of the constraints that we're offering here, if you give, and I will use this analogy because I don't know shit about really how to build stuff, and you came over and you were like, hey, listen, this is how we're going to change our electrical shit. I'm like, okay. We were trying to wire up the chandelier, and I had, obviously I almost died because I shocked myself a couple times, which is why I left it like that for a couple weeks, like a wild savage. And, had someone showed me an entire chest of tools, I'd be like, okay, that's a fun one. What's that one called? And I think that having a robust understanding when I'm just trying to fix a simple light fixture, explaining every single tool and every single purpose and every single potential use case is just an overwhelming inundation of things that we just don't need, frankly. And this is why we talk about problem awareness continuum earlier on, and I think season 2. So if you haven't listened to that one, you definitely want to smash that subscribe button and hit that episode up because it makes so much sense from offering people and holding your tongue long enough for people to get interested in what you have to say. And I think when it comes to complexity, we're dealing with these performance constraints of like giving the person the tool that they need to solve the problem they're dealing with that they think is most important versus the stuff that we know as experts in our fields, whether it's coaching, whether it's business, whether it's peptides, anything along those lines. If we don't want to give them the weather forecast for 7 years from now because it's not even relevant for what we're going to wear today.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and it's some usable examples, let's say,
Yeah.
in your business, right? So you and I first met, we were early in our relationship, and I've referenced this before. And I'm like, hey, should I focus more on eating rice or sweet potatoes? Guess what? It doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. They're carbs, okay? That's really about it. When we're at the phase where, like, micronutrients matter, there's some more potato nutrients in a potato. But beyond that, it didn't matter, especially with what my primary goals were.
Yeah.
So when we think about certain things, like, okay, this guy's got a mental issue and he doesn't want to eat carbs. Okay, well, how do we break him through that? Well, I'm just going to make him eat gallons of powdered sugar when he's running a race. He'll end up doing a lot better and be like, oh, carbs aren't bad. So thinking of your process, the common places to start are going to be probably get moving more or do a certain type of workout routine, whatever it might be. Having your basic routine that's templated out, 80 to 90% is going to be used all the time, and make the minor modifications where needed, so injury or whatever, but get them to start to do the thing. On the nutrition and kind of, wellness side of things, it's probably going to be like sleep, water, tracking are probably going to be the basic things out of the gates. You don't need to overcomplicate that. When we think about the business side of it, make it simple and easy. Like, do your math, understand what you need to charge, understand what that should produce from a profit and loss side of things. Take content, like we were talking actually earlier today, Ty was hanging out and he asked some questions, but we're like, all right, good, better, best. And he's like, oh, well, we can do all these great things with social media. Social media is a bear. Like, I hate social media. I just started playing the game way better, but in just doing way better, I was able to 10x the amount of views that I'm getting. Crazy. By making some subtle changes, but I was like, hey, I need to just do good. It's not about being great, better, best, or comparing myself to anybody, but I just need to be consistent at first because I was never consistent. So what I do, 1 year consistent, don't worry about the numbers. Then all of a sudden the numbers matter. But consistency was no longer the problem. I was now able to say, I'm just going to change this, do this, and then all of a sudden views are going to go up, and it's going to change from that perspective. So, like, what is that first step? Well, hey, if I'm teaching somebody on social media, which we don't want me teaching social media, just throwing that out there.
I mean, it would be really entertaining.
But if I would start off with like, hey, let's just get consistent. For a year was probably too long, but nonetheless, I did it for a year, and then we'll worry about making it better. So what is that foundational base level thing that we can do that we can build off of? That really becomes the key.
Yeah, and I think that when we talk about a tactical implementation tool for that would be simple adoption and habit stacking. And, you referenced this earlier. If you don't know, if you need a payment processing system and you're trying to worry about getting your first 5 clients and you're worried about your website design and you're worried about your social messaging and you're worrying about your ideal client avatar and you're worried about, covering overhead because now you have a facility rented, like that's 50 million things that in the absence of good behaviors and good habits that you can then open up your bandwidth mentally for other things, aka increase complexity, you should probably just send people a Venmo request for your first client. Like, don't worry about solving a lot of the, what does my funnel look like? And I swear to God, if you're one of those coaches, and I love you to death, but if you're saying I need one more certification, you have a couple already, that's young Andrew, and you're letting that get in the way of you starting to charge or to step into your professional identity of, this is who I am, this is what I want to be known for, this is what I want my brand feel to be, and I'm going to educate myself slowly but surely, and then I'm going to get experience around that education. I think that you need to stop asking about funnels. Like, if you have a business guru again, and they talk about how they made $1 million on a funnel and the funnels are trash now, and they kind of go back and forth and they change their opinion, instead of teaching the basic principles that do apply in most situations, that's how you know you have a good educator or a good coach or a good mentor, is that they're able to take a lot of the noise and remove it from the situation. Now, I will say this, in that complexity inherently is not bad. It's just misapplied often because people don't know how to organize and prioritize. And oddly enough, when you're writing programs and you're getting started or you're consulting with businesses, the idea is to list as much of the information as you have available and then organize it in a way of what's going to have the highest impact with the lowest amount of effort. And that's how you start the snowball of creating positive psychological momentum as a coach, as a consultant. I mean, the things we talk about, and I just want to really highlight this and drive this home, is that while we talk about business and while we talk about coaching, this is not inherently the only subset of industry that's working for. Anytime you're making a suggestion, if you're in a relationship, you're trying to influence behavior of your children, if you are trying to have a meaningful conversation with your spouse, if you're working on conflict resolution because people don't know how to talk to each other anymore and they don't know how to come to an agreement when they start at something that's perceived as odds, like these are all things that will make you a more effective human being in just about every domain. So, I mean, Steve, anything to close out the episode as we talk about how to reduce complexity and any tips or tricks to make that a thing?
So the thing I'll kind of leave it with here is one of my frameworks in my coaching business is the MSA method. Mm-hmm. So maintain, simplify, amplify are those three key things. Mm-hmm. It is a great idea every quarter, maybe if you're larger and you're really kind of growing monthly, but every quarter go in and list things that are going to be under the M, list things under the S, and list things that are going to go under the A. Generally speaking, you should only have like total 2 or 3 things under the S and the A because those are things that require action and change. Mm-hmm. The thing we're talking about right now is identify the S, the simplify stuff, and how do we reduce some of the cumbersomeness that exists somewhere in your business. So if you have one action item out of listen to this, it's go back, look at your business. What one thing can I make more simple? Mm-hmm. What one thing can I make it produce more results without doing more work, right? If you're doing coaching calls, record the coaching calls and use those for content on social media, right? Don't worry about extra stuff right now. Mm-hmm. Just do the thing you need to do. So find one thing to simplify, make it easier on yourself, your team, your whoever, your clients especially, and that is going to be something that helps you grow and scale your business more quickly, not the next launch or cool thing or scholarship or anything along those lines that everybody's talking about.
Launch and struggle.
Just had to launchandstruggle.com.
You know, there's a lot of nuggets and Easter eggs. Go listen to episode 1 if you want to know what up. But you know, and I love the fact that you have this very simple framework. It's 3 letters. I think for the people that are prone to rabbit holes, like myself, and there's a reason why we're friends. We're very, we like to explore.
Yes.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just want to do it in a constructive fashion that doesn't derail the rest of your initiatives, and it doesn't overtake the things that you know are going to inherently work. And so I would add the E for explore in there. And these are things that are going to take you some time to understand. Is this viable? Is this financially feasible? Is this something that's going to lead to positive business outcomes before you even go down the route of like creating that stability in any way or wasting money, frankly, if you don't have any on something that is untested or that you're not certain of, especially when you're a little bit worried about financial or, you know, other types of relational constraints. Like, you can do anything. It's just going to take you a trade-off of you have to usually give something else up. And when people hold on to too many things at the same time, that's where they inherently get burned out, in my experience, you know, in the mental health field and the coaching field. And I mean, frankly, it's just like everyone wants to do everything at the same time. And if it doesn't work, then they quit, which is why the average trainer only sticks around online coaching-wise 10 months, or the personal trainer sticks around for 3 years. It's because they can't quite get over that hump of either knowing when to amplify it or simplify it. And they don't really focus on a lot of the stuff that they need to do to maintain where they currently have and not backslide. So,
if you got some value out of this episode, hit that like button. If you want us to talk about anything else, go ahead and throw that comment down there for us to take a look at. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions for us, reach out on social media. Instagram's a place to be. We do hang out on TikTok. Andrew's
I finally went viral.
highly entertaining.
And by that I mean like I had like 24 people like
24 people like it.
Thanks, Mom.
But
Grandma.
Every one of your family members.
Yeah. It's a small family.
Small. But outside of that, until next time, thanks for hanging out with us at Beyond the Pump, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition. Until next time, gang.